This is a really poor angle, but I'm going to shoot this anyway to include with my 2019 crafting goals. So one of the things that I'm doing today is going through my studio, and I'll be pulling out my quilt tops that I have where the tops are either finished or nearly finished, and taking pictures, organizing them, because those are at, I don't want to say the top of my list, but it's the top of my list. Essentially, I want to know what I have, take pictures so that I can begin planning how I want to tackle them. You know, whether I have batting, whether I have enough backing fabric. And so, one of the things that what I'm going to do is I'll probably just do a pan shot, but I'll show those once I have it all together. The second thing that I have to do, because I know that I want to tackle my fabric that I have, is I went through almost all of my books, and not a heavy go through, but I just went through, thumbing through, looking for projects that I felt like I could use as scrappy projects if need be. So I'm going to show you a couple. Here's one of the books. It's, well, you can see it, 101 Fabulous Rotary Cut Quilts. And as an example, this quilt. I think that can easily be turned into a scrappy project. I mean, it is when you look at it, even though when you look at the pattern, it says to use fat quarters. So I'm going to go through this book, and what I do is I go through, I use Post-its. I have and no color system or anything. I just go through, add Post-its, and then I designated a spot on my bookshelf where I will place the books that have different patterns that I believe I can use. And once I get everything gathered, then what I do is actually go through the tabs and look at it a little more closely to see what I have. For example, something like this quilt, what I would probably do is use my scraps for the bulk of it, but for the center squares in these pieces, maybe go buy a bolt of something, one color, and then mix it with the other colors, and that will in the end make it all come together with that bolt or that few yards of one color. And so that's what I'm doing today. I know roughly what I have already finished, but I don't know specifically. So I'm going to get them all together and get that, and then I will shoot that as a video, and I'm going to be storing them. For now, I'll be storing them in these very large Ziploc sports bags. I think because of the size, a few of the quilts that I have are king size quilts. And so I believe for the most part, I think I can fit 2 quilts per bag. And so I'm hoping that I have enough. I think I do. I think I literally only have maybe 3 really large quilts. And then I have, I believe, maybe 3 or 4 smaller ones. I'm not certain. But I want to get it together, especially because this is the time of year for the quilt retreat. And that's something that's easily able, I could tackle. Even if, for example, I take it, because when I'm at the quilt retreat, I have a lot more open space. And I could even use that time to sandwich my quilts and just get the basting stitches done on my sewing machine, and then place them back in the storage containers. And then that way I can, all I have to do is set up my juki that I use for my for doing my top stitching, my quilting. So those are ideas and options. There's another quilt, which is the one that I finished most recently, which was the Stars quilt, that I was planning to try and do a quilt as you go technique. But after looking at how many quilt tops I have, I think I'm going to go ahead and just lay that quilt out and put it all together. And if not, that will be at the very top of my list when I go to the quilt retreat, to go ahead and just lay it all out, sew it all together so that it will be a completed top, and then I can take it from there. Another one that is on the very edge of being completed is my t-shirt quilt. The actual quilt top is done except for an additional border that I'm putting together. So those two, I actually could sew up that stars quilt and the t-shirt quilt in probably less than a couple of hours. And so that's something that's easily done. And so this is all a part of my like beginning of the year preparation, because I just don't want to have a bunch of unfinished projects. And for the most part, the tops are done, but I don't want to have a drawer of unfinished tops or unfinished quilts. And so I have that. Then after I finished that, the next phase, which I it's pretty much done, is I've already grouped the fabrics by potential projects. So I don't have to do that again. But what I do want is maybe once I have it all together, maybe either take a couple of snapshots just of the top, so I remember, oh, I have that teal and coral set. I have these baby fabric sets, that type of vibe. So I know what I have going on. Even if it's just to kind of make note of it and put it in my planner, and then start going through my patterns and identify the pattern that I want to go with that fabric, so that those projects can be worked through as well. And it's not that I'm anticipating that everything will be done this year. However, I know that I can do a big dent. And I know that I have enough tops to be able to practice my free motion quilting, which is probably that's my focus for this year. Not necessarily to learn any new techniques. It really is just to focus on getting strong with my quilting on my domestic machine. And so when it comes to supplies, I'll be limiting it to either focal fabrics, background fabrics, and backing fabrics and batting. Um, so that may be still a little bit pricey, because backing is usually a big piece of something. However, if I already have everything kind of mapped out in my mind, even if I don't know what pattern I'm going to use, when I have um, coupons for Joann's, I can always go and just start buying bolts of something. And that's something that I've actually been doing quite a bit with my background fabric. And I'll show you one. This fabric, it's hard to see. Let me see if I can, because of the lighting. But it's this like paisley tonal that I found at Joann, and it has been amazing. I've probably purchased 2 bolts of it, and every time I purchase the bolt, I use a coupon, so it's very inexpensive. I think it ends up running me somewhere around $3 or $4 a yard, or less. And so that's what I've been doing, and that's a good white. So I need to do something else with a warmer tone, probably either a burgundy or maybe even a navy blue to go with some of my warmer quilts. And then after that, it'll be to buy bolts to purely use for backing fabric. And so once I start kind of grouping and know how many quilts that I have, a couple of them already have it, the backing fabric. But and then all I have to do is just wait for. I like buying my batting from Connecting Threads, but I can also look at Joann's for the batting. So with all that said, that's where I am. And I'm going to take this off in a little bit and string together footage showing you a little bit of kind of how everything is looking right now. This is one of the books, again, that I'm using. A couple of other books that I have found patterns in. This one, which is the Stack Slash and Sash Quilting. This one, a Modern Twist. This is a knit pattern. And some from the Block magazine or book magazine. I also have the 20 fat quarter. I have some of those 20 fat quarter patterns that I've never used because usually I don't buy fat quarters, but I believe I'm going to use that too. I think that's going to be very helpful. And then any of the residual is going to be broken down into the scrap pieces that I've showed you before. And I've showed those in another video. Basically of me cutting those down, and I have 3 containers of those at various sizes. And so as the containers fill, that's when I'll start just piecing those together, and eventually those will just be really large scrappy quilts. And so this is kind of, I guess, a 2019 update. I may do a pan shot and then just leave this video as is. Let me know how you are handling your existing projects. What are some of the projects that you're looking to complete in 2019 concerning your quilting? And do you know of some great scrappy projects, especially if they're like easy to find, like YouTube videos, like great scrappy projects to be able to do? After I cut them down, the pieces I'm cutting them down to are as small as 2-inch square pieces. And but I would love to be able to just do them all. And in closing, another thing that I found is that I was having some muslin for different projects, but because a while back I found phone books, I didn't have to use the muslin for like string quilting and stuff like that. I'm using phone books. And so that's another thing that I found that I had quite a bit of, which was muslin. So what I've done with the muslin is I have an old packaging box, and I'm just putting all my muslin in one place. And I actually already have a project for these. And so, yes, that's what I'm doing. I'm getting myself together. Let me know if you have any comments, questions, or concerns. Thank you for joining me, and I will talk with you all hopefully sooner than later. The next video that you will hopefully see from me concerning my crafting will be my 2019 goals, and hopefully also showing you the finished quilts and everything that I have. So look for all of that to come. Take care and have a great day. Goodbye.